Okay. Uh, Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to this ICCA event. Uh, as you know, the career fair is tomorrow, so we thought we'd put this together again, like we did in the fall, to kind of help people with some advice who are looking to go to any of the booths of the participating intelligence community members. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Nathan Becker, our undergraduate advisor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Kevin, for setting this up. I think it's a great opportunity and resource for everyone who's never been, especially if you've never been to a career fair before. My name is Nathan Becker. Like Kevin said, I'm the academic advisor. I just left the intelligence community in 2023 and came to UCF for the PhD program in security studies. So everything I'm going to talk about today is based off of my real world experience, the experience of the intelligence agencies that I've worked for, although I do not speak for them. I'm just giving you my experience as well being at a variety of IC agencies. And then I also went out and did some research on what current hiring officials, current recruiters are saying about best practices. So this is kind of a conglomeration of personal experiences and what experts are saying and recommending that you should do as it relates to the time period before, at, and then after a career fair. So I got some slides I'm going to go through relatively quickly. If you have an emerging question, please raise your hand in the chat bar. Otherwise, I'll keep driving and then we'll save questions for the end. All right, so Career Fair is a fantastic opportunity for you guys to be able to execute your career search. There's been an emerging trend in the intelligence community since COVID is kind of passed, in that they are sending out more hiring officials to career fairs. So there are actual opportunities for people to interview with hiring officials and get hired on the spot. The IC has also been transitioning to online options that make it even easier on hiring officials to attend. Handshake is the name of the online resource. If you signed up for the career fair, you're probably getting a couple emails a week from Handshake about different organizations and events that they're hosting that are going to be at the career fair tomorrow. So it's very important to get familiar with Handshake, especially if you are looking for government jobs, because you can have an easy opportunity to meet with hiring officials and get hired on the spot. But that means you got to do a couple of things first. And so that's what we're going to get into next. Before the job fair, strongly recommend you take some time and talk to professors, talk to me, talk to Kevin. There's a lot of people around who have some experience with, in this case, government jobs and with the intelligence community. And the reason why I say that is because it's very this predominant opinion that the intel community is almost like a monolith and that everyone in there is an intelligence analyst. And that's just not true. Between engineers and you have human resources and you have accountants to manage budgets, congressional affairs experts. There is a wide variety of positions available within the intelligence community. So you need to be able to understand the field that you're specifically interested in, and then we can talk and develop opportunities for you because every agency generally is going to have, a couple positions at least in what you're interested in. But we can't just assume that it's all Intel analysts because it's just not the truth. The other thing I would recommend is researching the employers you're interested in. And this comes into a point that you're going to see me make in a couple slides, and that you need to have a plan. The plan in this case means you're probably not going to be at the career fair from 1 to 5 or 1 to 6. And so you need to pick out the places that you absolutely need to talk to or that you absolutely want to talk to. In this case, we know that the CIA, the NSA, Air Force intelligence recruiters for civilian jobs are going to be there, and the Health ISAC is going to be at the career fair. So that means you have opportunities to talk to government agencies and also to talk to the private intelligence companies like the Health ISAC. So you need to know, one, what's available, and then you need to know a little bit about them. There's a famous interview I conducted a couple years ago where the person wanted a job with the Army. And so I'm interviewing him. I'm like, what do you know about the Army? Nothing. Okay. Did you look at our command at all online? Did you see anything interesting? No. Okay. Why do you want to interview here then? I don't know. I was bored. It was the shortest interview I've ever had in my life because they didn't take any time or share any interest with actually understanding the company. Now, I'm not saying you have to go out and find the founder and when the company was established, but at least knowing a little bit about the missions will pay off a lot in the end. I've been working with a lot of students lately as well on updating your resume. So you want to make sure that you have a resume that is specifically tailored for the job that you want. You want to ensure you dress for success. I'm not saying you have to go out and buy a $3,000 suit. That would be ludicrous. But you need to be able to dress professionally, whether it's khakis and a very nice pressed polo, something like that makes a positive statement. I've been to hiring fairs where people showed up in short gym shorts and sleeveless, cut off t-shirts, and they had clearly just left the gym. That doesn't set that initial first impression the way you would hope. And so, dressing for success, a common saying people say is you dress for the job you want, not the one you have. And so, in this case, showing up dressed nicely, you're already setting a good first impression. If you are not a hands-on person, practicing a handshake would be ideal. You don't want to go too short or too long or be too limp or miss a handshake instead of a fist bump. All this stuff has happened. I've seen it happen tons of times. So just make sure that you're confident and you're putting your best foot forward. Now, the hardest part for students is how do you develop your elevator pitch? And what I recommend is your resume. You've got what we recommend is to have a qualification section on the top of your resume. And those are generally your most important bullets. You got to remember, on average, hiring officials have about 30 seconds to review each resume. And so you put your most important bullets up at the top in the qualification section, and you use those to make your elevator pitch. And so you're generally, if you know the job is for an open source intelligence analyst position with the CIA, for example, you don't necessarily want to ask them if they have signals intelligence or, tell me all about Osama bin Laden and how the takedown went, right? It's not applicable to this. So, what you want to do is to highlight your qualification section in 30 seconds and show them why they want to hire you for that open source intelligence analyst position. And so you're tailoring your skill set to what they want. And that's something that we can absolutely work on before interviews as well. Finally, preparing questions. I strongly recommend you guys take a binder, a folder, something. And on one side of your binder or folder, you're going to have resumes. And on the other side, you're going to have a piece of paper and a pencil. You need to write down some questions ahead of time. Because if you get there and you forget because you're stressed, you're nervous, whatever, it can pose the wrong impression, or it can just show them that you might not have been prepared, even though you were. So for me, I try to dummy proof it for myself and I write it down. That way, no matter what happens, I know exactly where it is, and I just read off the piece of paper the question that I developed ahead of time. Questions can be as simple as, what can I do to improve my resume or my skill set to make me eligible for this position? It's a fantastic question. And I'm going to go on in about 3 slides. I'm going to show you guys some sample questions as well. But it is absolutely imperative to have some questions prepared. All right. So it was a little bit quicker than I expected. The questions to expect from recruiters. So when you're talking to them, they're going to ask you, what is your major? Why did you choose it? What experience do you have? Why are you interested in working for us? These are all softball questions that you should be prepared to crush. Your elevator pitch, Your resume, your qualification section have all geared you towards crushing these questions. With what you know about the agency, with what you want to do, and what you've done so far, that's your elevator pitch in a nutshell. That's why these are easy questions for you. And these are stuff that you can answer really without thinking about it, but we want you to practice that because it'll come off a little more smooth. You might have time to think of a funny analogy or a funny story about your experiences that will, show them some personality. For questions to ask recruiters, what opportunities are there for career growth? What can I do to make myself more competitive? I particularly like these two because it shows that one, you're committed to the mission, you want to do better, and you're interested in being there for a while. And these ones are easy questions, but they show your commitment to that recruiter. Please, please, please do not ask how much do your positions pay. Government positions, all the information is available online. You don't need to ask. It comes off as a different impression than one that you want to give. But one final piece on this slide, avoid asking questions about how you benefit. I've given multiple interviews. I was on three hiring panels last year. And in every hiring panel, at least two of the candidates talked about how the position was going to benefit them and their side hustles and what they want to do down the line. They didn't once mention how they can support the mission. I am not particularly interested in hiring someone who is not committed to supporting the mission. The job is there. We're paying you to support the mission, not so you can have you know, I don't know, a Grammarly account and charge people money in your off time. Hope that makes a sense, but you just want to frame things from, I'm really excited to join the team. I'm really excited to support the mission. I can't wait to get into the IC and do some good stuff. All right, so now we're going to move to the recruiter. Once again, dress for success. I can't say that enough. Make sure you've got enough copies of your resume for every employer you're interested in, plus extras. So we talked about there's 4 key agencies or organizations that are going to be at this career fair. You should probably have at least 7, just in case you might come across someone that you're really interested in. Or maybe, let's say, state law enforcement shows up and you're able to talk to them. They've got a ton of intelligence analyst positions. You make sure you've got extra copies of your resume for them. Remember your elevator pitch, write down your questions, develop your game plan. In this case, we know that the CIA is going to be holding an information session from 9 a.m. to 10:30. And so that's going to be still a couple hours before the actual career fair starts. So you want to be able to plan accordingly. Go talk to the CIA. I can't foot stomp that or recommend that enough to go talk to them tomorrow. Then you might want to go get some food. Well, you absolutely don't want to spill on your nice clothes. So you want to make sure that you're eating appropriately, right? And then you want to have a game plan for who you're going to hit up at the career fair. You know, some people like to look at the map of where all of the organizations are. And if they want to go to the CIA first, and then it's just a matter of going, the shortest possible distance to hit up everyone you want, as opposed to walking all over trying to get to everyone. Just things to think about. Now, you're going to talk to people and you're going to be like, whoa, that was a really bad engagement with the recruiter. Whether it was, yourself or the recruiter was a dud or whatever, right? There's going to be a natural human tendency to feel a little bit frustrated and down. Don't let it get to you. You have to present a happy, confident face to every single recruiter and hiring official you meet because you don't know if they're a hiring official. You might just assume they're a recruiter. And if you walk up and you're frustrated and you're a little short because your desired interview, let's say with the CIA, didn't go as well as you wanted, you might be now killing your second opportunity there. So take a second, compose yourself. Remember, the goal is to get a job. So give yourself a pep talk, be positive, and first impressions matter. All right. Talking with the recruiter, some of this stuff, once again, we've gone over it, and I'm reiterating it to show you how important it is. Make eye contact, smile, say hello. When I was at the NSA, we used to joke that you could tell the extroverts from the introverts because the extroverts would look in front of their shoe when they spoke to you. When you're trying to apply for a job, you don't want to do that. You want to make eye contact, smile, say hello, be proactive, right? Handshake, talk to them a little bit about what your interests are, ask them your questions, give them your pitch, and then give them your resume. Once you offer up your resume, then you can ask them what the next steps in the process are. Um, if they have any recommendations on positions that are coming up, or how some places will allow you to submit a resume online, and then they're continuously going through those resumes when jobs pop up. So you can ask them about that, and make sure and ask for a business card. That is a key piece. That way you can follow up after about a week. You can thank them for their time and say, oh, hey, I really appreciate you talking with me. Please ignore my dogs. And you can say, based on our conversation, I wanted to provide you with a digital copy of my resume and just see if you were able to help me with X, Y, or Z, whatever it is that you talked about. But you want to make a good impression. You want to network. You want to be confident, but not pushy. Now, after there's always this tendency to want things now. And so if you go to a career fair and you have a fantastic conversation with the recruiter, some people want to follow up the very next day. That person might have been in the office for 5 minutes. They might not have even gotten their coffee yet. And people are already like pinging them and firing off emails and questions. Give them some time. A standard government response is a minimum of 7 days. Then reach out, thank them for the opportunity, but make sure you say thank you. Those things stick out because of the sheer amount of people who don't. And so you're just building up all of these positive little things to to get that hiring official to the point where they're like, wow, I'm looking in the participant list and Mike, Elizabeth, they were awesome. They were rock stars. They were polite and kind and confident every step of the way. We've got to get them in, and they may find a way to get resumes in front of hiring officials. Whereas if you're, say, Nathan, and you're down and you're looking at your feet while you're talking to them, they're gonna be like, well, yeah, this guy is probably not a fit for us. So you want to make sure and maximize your opportunities. If you're interested in the government, you got to know the clearance process takes on average 9 to 10 months, and it can take longer depending on certain instances or circumstances. So you got to continue to attend hiring events. There have been some cases I know where people have gotten job offers from a certain government agency, and it took 14 months for their clearance to get processed at that agency. Well, you can't just stand still. So the person went to another government agency and ended up getting hired in about 5 months instead. So don't just be complacent. You got to keep pushing. So just friendly advice. Keep going in person, keep attending virtual career fairs, keep up the job search. Reach out to career services, reach out to Kevin, reach out to myself if you have questions. We are all here to help you. So, with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to questions. Does anyone have any questions?
I did have a question.
Perfect. What you got?
Hi. I was wondering if you knew of employers that are looking to hire intelligence jobs, because on Handshake, it mostly just, they have a section for government affairs, but a lot of those companies aren't really hiring intelligence students. So I was wondering if you perhaps had a more complete list or knew of any companies that are looking for that.
Absolutely. That's a great question. The first thing would be to understand when your graduation date is. because that will determine, some of the time frames. But your best bet for government jobs would be to start at usajobs.gov. And I'll say it again, usajobs.gov. That is the 90% solution for most of the Intel community jobs. The CIA, the NGA, and there's one or two others were able to finagle their own systems. So you'd have to go to their website to specifically apply. But the CIA still posts all their positions on usajobs.gov. So, to give you a recent example, they just posted a position for artificial intelligence analyst. The specific work field is listed under engineering, but they're taking up to roughly 20 different career fields. And so, for intelligence students, data analysis is a perfect fit, right? And you could actually get to help the Army, for example, the Intelligence and Security Command for the Army is the Army's component of the Intel community. And so on their website, they have a career fair section where you can see when the career fairs are listed, if it's going to be on Handshake or not. Um, while the intel agencies are more likely to use Handshake, that doesn't assume that they're perfect at it yet. And so they're not as likely at the moment to be promoting or highlighting upcoming positions on Handshake, because each one of the position descriptions that they put on their website has to go through a pretty severe public release review process. So it implies there's a lot of lead time for them to be able to have the position approved and then get it to the folks to do the public release review and then get it to the webmaster to get it posted so it looks nice and pretty. That's all behind the scenes stuff. But in real life, it's never that quick or simple. And so you would have to have a list of organizations that have your specific career field in mind, and you'd want to be continually checking them. That's a lot more onerous than going to usajobs.gov and looking up the analyst positions that are available on a daily basis. For the most part, on USA Jobs, positions are open from 2 to 14 days. And so you'll see that if it's generally a position that's open for 2 days, the prevailing opinion is that that agency has somebody in mind. They're trying to potentially hire from within, which is why it's only open for 2 days. If it's open for 14 days, 10 days, even 7 days, there's generally a great chance that they are looking for a wide variety of candidates. And because the time frames are still relatively short, between 7 and 14 days, you need to be looking every day in order to stay up to date with what's out there. As far as specific companies, everyone is generally hiring right now. It's just a matter of getting the right week when they have the positions open. There are also, in some cases, defense contractor positions that are available. We're going to be putting out some information either today or tomorrow, but the National Ground Intelligence Center is going to come speak to students next week on Wednesday, the 21st. And so they're going to talk about job opportunities as well. We've had a couple students get hired with them over the last year. And so that's an agency that I would really recommend keeping your eye on because of the diversity of the mission. They do a lot of stuff for the Army and for the intelligence community. And Congress loves going there. And so it's a pretty desirable organization to be a part of with a great command climate. Those are things that matter to me. Having a cool mission, a diverse mission, and also having a good climate means that they like being there. So does that kind of help answer your question, Anna Maria?
It does, yes. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Okay.
And if you'd like
And
to talk,
oh, sorry. I have two things to add if it's not too much trouble.
no.
Um, two things to kind of understand about, especially about the intelligence community at career fairs. Um, they they will usually have hiring teams. They don't send generalists out. They're usually looking for one thing or the other, and they'll send them out to a career fair like this. Even if they have something, we're looking for X on the handshake page, it doesn't mean you shouldn't go up to them and be like, hey, this is what I do. I'm interested, and at least give them your resume. Um, and the other thing to understand about like the IC at a career fair is that they very rarely hire on the spot, um, because of the security clearance process. Uh, it is very rare to even get an offer at a career fair from the IC, uh, because of that distinction. Um, if you're looking for instant gratification, kind of not the career field that you might want to look into. Um, but yeah, I think those two things for the IC at a career fair are important to note.
That's a
Thank
great.
you.
But if you would like to talk more about positions, please feel free to stop by Anna Maria to the ICCAE office, and we would be happy to go over anything. I also try every week to highlight some cool or interesting positions on the web courses page. So for the ICCAE, so there's just a couple opportunities as well to be more targeted for your career search as opposed to general discussions like we're having now.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, I have a question.
Perfect. What do you have, Elizabeth?
So, do you know if the person or people who are running the CIA event before the career fair are going to be the same people that are going to be running their booth there?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, perfect.
With that being said, I think Kevin and I would both strongly agree to go to both. Um, I I'm not anticipating the turnout to be quite as big at 9 in the morning. And so it affords you the opportunity for more face-to-face time. Whereas we could probably expect that the CIA table is going to be very busy from 1 to 6 during the career fair. And so getting some quality face time with them would be very beneficial. So just something to consider.
Okay, I'll definitely be at both.
Perfect. And Kevin can talk more, but what was it, 2 years ago, Kevin, when they did 85 interviews?
So in the previous 2 years, we used to have a separate event from the career fair where we brought the CIA in specifically. Um, Last year, we had 4 different hiring teams from 4 different areas of the CIA, including the Directorate of Operations. We set up 2 panels, a simulation. We scheduled 75 different one-on-ones for students over 3 days, and they ended up staying an extra day to actually interview people to make offers. So it is, people have had success meeting the CIA on campus and talking to them. Uh, but as far as I know, it's not quite the same environment. It's more just a career fair visit for them.
That's a great question. Thank you, Kevin. Anything else out there? Doesn't have to be specifically career fair related. You've got Kevin and myself here, so we're happy to talk anything you've got. Pedro, what you got?
Hi, so I wanted to ask, are there any defense contractors like that will be at the career fair tomorrow that you recommend looking at? Like any specific ones?
That's a great question. Um, I did not remember seeing any, but I know Lockheed Martin is generally at most of these. Lockheed, Boeing are kind of considered some of the gold standard of defense contractor companies. Um, I won't say who I may or may not have been employed by in the past, but there are lots of really good contract companies. My general advice would be to ask them any company that you're interested in, if it's not one you've heard of, ask how many positions they have. There are some companies that have they will put people on a particular billet, and then once that billet goes away, you're no longer with the company. Whereas other companies have a varied roster of positions. And so their goal is to move you around, let you get experience, and develop your career the way you want to develop it. And so you have the opportunity to have a much more potentially fruitful career based on the ability to move around and be exposed to different things. So that's my general advice. I loved working for a defense contractor. There's very, very cool missions. You just have to be eyes wide open on what the right questions are to ask. And that's definitely one of them.
Thank you.
Great question. Yeah, you bet. All right. We'll give you 5 more seconds or so to ask anything else that's pressing.
I did have one more question, if that's okay.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
I was wondering, in terms of internships, since it's my first year, if there's a different way to approach that in like an elevator pitch or when you first start talking to someone, um, if there's any different steps that to take rather than looking for a full-time job after graduation.
So one quick question then, Anna Maria, is are you a freshman this year?
I'm a freshman, but I have like sophomore credits, so I can technically apply for some of the internships.
Oh, perfect. Okay. That helps. For the most part, I mean, so they're going to be more career focused than internship focused, primarily at this event. If you're looking at internships with the federal government, those typically close no later than November of the year prior because there is such a long lead time to get your clearance. So for people who are interested in doing internships this summer, they closed in November of 2023, generally at the latest. So there is an online for government internship positions, they primarily utilize online applications because you're going to see places like the CIA, the FBI, the State Department are going to get tens of thousands of applications. It's simply unreal. So if you're looking at a government agency, my recommendation is to go to odni.gov, look at the 18 different intel agencies, and go small. Start with some of the smaller organizations. You might be one of 10 candidates at a smaller agency as opposed to one of 40,000 at the CIA or the FBI. I would also recommend considering for internships looking at state and local. The state of Florida has a Bureau of Intelligence. And so you would be conducting intelligence analysis supporting state law enforcement organizations. You can get paid potentially. You can make that into a job. Thank you. And in the chat, Kevin posted intelligencecareers.gov. That is a function of odni.gov that they provide so people can take a quiz and see not only the agencies, but also the career fields that you're interested in. But with state and local law enforcement, you're doing the same tasks that you would use in the intel community, and in some cases, the exact same tools, but you're just doing it in your state. And you're developing this fantastic resume that can help you get into the IC upon graduation. So in your
Okay.
case, having sophomore credits, it might be worthwhile this summer to look at state or local organizations. And then next year, be ready come October to apply for a whole bunch of government internships, and you might be more likely and more of a commodity if you did have some additional internship experience. That would make you potentially better candidate.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay. I would also recommend it doesn't hurt to introduce yourself to the CIA if you're looking for an internship. It's the same general approach as if you're, looking for a job. However, they actually prefer, because of the security clearance process and the lead time, they do actually prefer to take freshmen, sophomores for their internships so that they can clear them and have them for potentially even multiple years and bring them back as interns. There's a very high retention rate as long as you don't screw it up for yourself to be brought back year after year and to be given a job after graduation. Um, Definitely take Nathan is correct in that they are more looking for careers rather than internship candidates here, but introducing yourself never hurts.
Absolutely. That's a great
Thank you.
point. All right. Last call for questions. Well, hey, thank you everyone for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the fantastic questions. And please, if you have any questions, stop by the ICCA office and come talk to Kevin or myself. We'd be more than happy to speak with you about anything and everything.
Yep. Thank you everyone for coming. And just a reminder, the event tomorrow, 9 a.m. in classroom building 2, room 105 for the CIA info session.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you guys. You
Thank
too.
you.